Morning arrived softly, the way it always did now, without alarms, without urgency, only the quiet rhythm of a newborn breathing in the next room. Sunlight slipped through the curtains and rested gently on the wooden floor, turning the house into something golden and calm. Barış woke first. He stayed still for a moment, listening, letting the silence tell him everything was okay. From the crib came a tiny sound, not quite a cry, more like a question. Barış smiled before his eyes were fully open. He moved carefully, as if even the air should not be disturbed. When he reached the crib, he leaned over and saw their baby blinking up at the world, small hands curled, eyes wide and curious. "Good morning," he whispered, his voice low and steady. The baby responded with a soft stretch, as though recognizing the sound. Barış felt that familiar warmth in his chest, the one that surprised him every time. He had played many roles in his life, but this one, this quiet responsibility, felt deeper than anything he had known. Elçin appeared at the doorway, hair loose, wrapped in a simple cardigan. She had that tired but peaceful look that only new parents carried. She watched them for a second, saying nothing, letting the moment belong to father and child. "You're both awake early," she said gently. He was asking important questions. Barış replied with a small smile. Elçin walked closer, resting her hand on the crib's edge. The baby turned toward her voice immediately, eyes lighting up in a way that felt almost unreal. "That still amazes me," she said. "How he knows." "He knows everything that matters," Barış said. They moved together, naturally, without planning. Elçin picked the baby up, holding him close, her movements slow and sure. The room felt warmer instantly, as if the walls themselves were listening and approving. Breakfast was simple. Toast, fruit, tea that went lukewarm because they forgot to drink it. The baby rested nearby, wrapped securely, making small sounds that filled the kitchen with life. Nothing else felt necessary. No phones, no schedules, no outside noise. Elçin watched Barış from across the table. He looked different these days, not less himself, but more grounded, as if something inside him had finally settled. "You're quieter," she said. "Am I?" he asked.
"Yes."
"But in a good way."
He thought about that.
"I think I'm listening more." She nodded. That made sense. Later, they moved to the living room. Elçin sat by the window with the baby asleep against her chest. Barış stood nearby, pretending to tidy up, though really, he was just watching them. The light framed them perfectly, soft and real, like a moment that should never be rushed. "Do you ever feel like time is moving strangely?" Elçin asked quietly. "All the time," Barış said. "Some moments feel endless. Others disappear instantly. This one," she said, looking down, "I want to keep." He understood. He always did. The baby stirred, tiny fingers grasping at nothing, then settling again. Elçin adjusted the blanket, her expression calm, protective, full of a love that didn't need words. That afternoon, they went for a short walk. The world outside felt different now, louder, faster, but also less important. Barış pushed the stroller slowly, choosing quieter streets. Elçin walked beside him, her hand resting lightly on the handle, as if to remind herself it was real. Neighbors smiled. Some waved. No one asked questions. It was perfect. Back home, the baby refused to sleep unless held. Elçin sat on the couch, gently rocking. Barış sat on the floor in front of her, his back against her knees. It wasn't uncomfortable. It felt right. "You know," Elçin said, "I used to think safety was about control, about planning. And now I think it's about presence." Barış reached up, touching the baby's tiny foot with one finger. "I think you're right." Evening came quietly. No dramatic sunset, just a gradual softening of the light. Barış cooked while Elçin rested. The baby slept in the next room, the monitor humming softly, steady and reassuring. They ate slowly, talking about nothing important. The way the leaves looked today. A song they half remembered. Things that didn't demand attention, but felt meaningful anyway. When the baby cried later, both of them stood at once, then laughed softly. "I've got it," Elçin said. No, I do, Barış replied. They paused, then went together. The nursery light glowed dimly. Elçin lifted the baby, soothing him with quiet words. Barış stood close, his hand on her shoulder. The crying stopped almost immediately, replaced by slow, uneven breaths. They stayed like that for a while, neither wanting to be the first to leave. When the baby finally slept, Elçin whispered, "We're doing okay." Barış nodded. "More than okay." They turned off the light and stepped back into the quiet house, closing the door gently behind them. Outside, the world continued as it always had. Inside, something new and steady had taken root, warm, secure, and quietly growing. The night held them gently, and for the first time in a long while, nothing else was needed. The night passed in fragments of quiet and movement. Gentle footsteps, a soft light switched on and off, a whisper that floated through the hallway and settled back into silence. By morning, the house carried that familiar mix of tiredness and peace, as if it had learned how to breathe in shorter, softer rhythms. Elçin woke to the sound of rain tapping against the window. It wasn't heavy, just enough to slow the world down. She lay still for a moment, listening. From the crib came a calm, steady breath. That alone felt like a gift. She turned her head and saw Barış already awake, sitting on the edge of the bed, elbows on his knees, thoughtful but relaxed. "You didn't sleep much," she said quietly. He smiled without turning around. "I slept enough." She knew what he meant. Sleep was measured differently now. It wasn't about hours, but about reassurance. They moved through the morning gently. The baby stayed unusually calm, watching everything with serious eyes, as if taking notes. Elçin placed him on a soft blanket near the window. The rain blurred the outside world, turning it into shapes and motion instead of detail. "He likes the sound," Barış said. "He likes calm," Elçin replied. They sat on the floor together, backs against the couch. The baby lay between them, safe in that small space created by their presence. Barış reached out slowly, offering a finger. The baby wrapped his hand around it with surprising strength. Barış laughed under his breath. "That grip." "It's trust," Elçin said. "He doesn't know anything else yet." The words stayed with him. Later, Elçin spent time organizing small things, tiny clothes folded with care, bottles lined up neatly, a blanket smoothed until it felt just right. Barış watched from the doorway, noticing how much intention she placed into every movement. "You don't have to make everything perfect," he said gently. She looked up. "I know. I just want it to feel steady." He nodded. That was something he understood deeply. In the afternoon, the rain stopped. Light returned, clearer and brighter. They opened a window just enough to let fresh air in. The baby slept again, his chest rising and falling like a promise. Barış made tea and brought 2 cups to the couch. Elçin sat beside him, legs tucked under her, one hand resting lightly near the baby. "Do you ever think about the future?" she asked. "All the time," he said. "And then I stop." She smiled. "Same." They didn't need to explain. The future felt big, but the present was enough. When the baby woke, he was restless. Not upset, just searching. Elçin held him close, humming softly, a tune without words. Barış stood nearby, ready but not rushing. Slowly, the baby settled, his breathing evening out. "You're very calm today," Elçin said. "So are you," Barış replied. She leaned her head against his arm for a moment. It was a simple gesture, but it held weight. In the early evening, they took another short walk. The streets were damp, the air cool and clean. Barış pushed the stroller slowly, careful around puddles. Elçin watched the baby through the clear cover, her reflection overlapping with his small, sleeping face. An older woman passed by and smiled warmly. "Peaceful," she said softly, more observation than comment. "Yes," Elçin replied. "He is." Back home, the baby surprised them by staying awake longer than usual. His eyes followed the light on the ceiling, the movement of shadows. Barış lay on the rug beside him, pointing out shapes that probably meant nothing but sounded important. "That one looks like a cloud," he said. Elçin laughed quietly. He can't see clouds yet. Then I'm preparing him, Barry said. The laughter stayed in the room, light and easy. As night approached, the baby grew fussy again. Elçin felt the familiar pull of worry, but Barry's noticed and placed a hand over hers. It's okay, he said. We're here. That was enough. They moved together, adjusting, responding, learning. There was no panic, no pressure, just attention. When the baby finally slept, Elçin felt a wave of exhaustion wash over her. She sat on the couch, eyes closed, breathing slow. Barry's placed a blanket over her shoulders without waking her. He stood there for a moment, watching her rest. The house was quiet again, but not empty. It felt full of something invisible and strong. Later, when Elçin woke, the lights were dim. Barry sat nearby, reading quietly. How long was I asleep? She asked. Long enough, he said. They didn't move the baby. They just sat, sharing the silence. Before going to bed, Elçin paused in the doorway of the nursery. She looked at the small figure in the crib, peaceful and unaware of how deeply he was loved. Do you think he feels safe? She asked softly. Barry stood beside her. I think safety is the first thing he knows. She reached for his hand, squeezing it once. They turned off the light and closed the door gently. The night wrapped around the house, calm and steady. Outside, the world continued its noise and movement. Inside, everything that mattered was already exactly where it needed to be.